It's Friday. Woohoo! Oh, all right. We'll get to the video. So this is a 10-minute clip where I lay into the diet industry. I believe they are a fundamental cause of and support. Really, they're a major support to eating disorders, disordered eating, emotional eating, food addiction, exercise addiction, and everything else that goes into body image. And I talked to this client who has found that she fantasizes about life being thinner, even though she's been thinner. And when she was thinner, she was absolutely miserable in the life that it took to keep it. Enough so that she isolated herself for years from experiencing life, just trying to maintain her thinness. So anyway, so we talk in this 10-minute clip about the cognitive distortion around your weight, your size, about how you've been positioned to believe that your body is your persecutor, that food is your persecutor, you are a victim, and that also that if you are not successfully restricting food, that's an indication that you suck and you're the one persecuting the body. But yet no one is looking at the diet industry as the problem. So if you want to watch the whole clip is in my private Patreon account that you'll have to join to be a member. That link to Patreon is below. But this is 10 minutes, so count yourself lucky. Enjoy. Oh, and if you want to work with me, the person you're listening to found me on YouTube. It's the YouTube follower you're listening to. So there's also a link to my website below where you can fill in the request form and we can get you scheduled to talk as soon as this weekend. So, all right, enjoy.
That's why it's confusing for me when you talk about the isolation, because I'm isolating now as I'm overweight. I'm not like going out because I don't have clothes to wear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's why it's so emotionally distorted. You're not questioning the asshole that's isolating you as the problem. You're looking at, I don't fit into clothes, that's the problem. Would you ever take any human being and say, you can't go out until you fit your smaller clothes?
No.
Because it's terrible. So you're not questioning that. You think that you deserve to be isolated.
Exactly.
And abused. Yeah. So you notice how you don't think it's abusive. You think you deserve to be isolated. Mm-hmm. Kind of like someone who's got Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, like cult followers who actually believe, I deserve this punishment. I deserve to not be able to go out. I deserve to be starved. I shouldn't be eating. Right? Not seeing how abusive that is because you've internalized it as something that you have to do to feel better about yourself. So I'm going to put you in a cage and restrict food because you can't go out. Right? Not seeing the insane abusiveness in it. You just believe it's my body making me feel this way. It's horrible. So everything is directed towards how terrible the body's being and how you're a victim of the body. And your persecutor is the body. It's persecuting me.
Right.
It's what's hurting my life because it won't let me out and wear clothes that I want to wear. You're not questioning the thin supremacy that you internalized as the problem. That only thinner people who can wear thinner clothes can be seen in public.
Yes.
Right? So someone else who has absolutely internalized that system would go, you're right. You would feel better about yourself if you could be thinner. And wearing those clothes will feel so good, but for now, so we're going to help you restrict your food because it's for your own good. and you believe it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are subjecting yourself to abusiveness, right? I tell you, would you do this to any other human being? Anyone else, your size? Would you say you shouldn't be in public?
No.
Because that would be absolutely horrendous. I want you to imagine in New York that there's a group of 10 women who are your size. How big are you?
Probably, I don't even know. I'm over 190.
So do you know what size you are about? Size 18? Size?
No, like 14.
Okay, so let's take all the size 14 women in your block, and let's put them in a grouping, and we are going to shun them and tell them that they should not come out. They shouldn't go to work. If they go to work, they need to be hiding. They need to cover themselves up until they are a size 6. And not only that, but they deserve to be punished through restricted eating. And we're going to tell them, look at your bodies. You're not healthy. You can't come out. You cannot socialize unless you are size whatever.
Right.
Size 12. You know, you've hit the size 14 level of shame and embarrassment. And your value, we are all criticizing you now, right? Just put your brain and put it in public. And I want you to imagine if you witnessed this happening. Let's say a group of 5 women at size 14 are being told, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
And then I want you to imagine that they're being told you should reduce you cannot eat any more sugar. You can't go out to eat. You can't have bread. You have to eliminate all alcohol. If you can get rid of dairy. And they're told that they are no longer allowed to consume with the rest of the thinner people in the world.
You know, it's like that's my brain. My brain is like that.
I know, because you have.
It's like, you know, people are judging me for eating carbs.
Correct.
My brain is like, but yet at the same time, if I was the weight I wanted to be, I wouldn't be able to eat carbs because I couldn't be that weight.
No, because you have to maintain your thinnerness. So even if you believe that thinner people should be able to have more freedom with food, that's an illusion. That's the fantasy you chase. And you know, intellectually and emotionally at this point, which is why you're actually asking for help to get out of it, that it doesn't exist. That if you believe in thin supremacy the way you do, like a cult religious ideology, which is thinner people are more valuable, fatter people are less valuable. Fat people deserve to be starved. Starvation is for their own good. Isolating them, it's for their own good. Like you've twisted it into a positive thing that will bring you self-worth. Right? When they see Stockholm Syndrome in, like, let's just say cults, they find the same type of behavior where there's a belief system in place to where the abusive behavior that goes on in a cult is seen as for your own good. You deserve to be punished. So the punishment is twisted into some form of I deserve it. So they don't see it as abusive. They see it as something that is the consequence of this behavior.
Right.
I deserve it. And it's a justified, reasoned, and rationalized consequence. That if you do this, you deserve to be treated this way. And once the person who's in the cult internalizes that and believes it, they're going to allow the abuse. They allow the abuse. And then the other thing that they find is when the restrictions or the abusiveness, when there isn't the abuse, they see that lack of abuse is love and care. They care for me. So being allowed, for example, in your belief system, being allowed to eat feels like love. Where when you're out of that insanity, to me, right? For me, for example, when I came out of that cult, the one you're in right now, when I came out of the thin supremacist cult, eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to me first of all, shouldn't feel like shame, but it also shouldn't have the same euphoria around specialness. I remember thinking I should just be able to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because to me, being able to have anything with peanut butter, because that was one of the things that I craved and wouldn't allow, was special, right? But if you weren't in such extreme restriction, would it have the specialness? No. It shouldn't be so special, kind of like the clothes that you've over-emotionalized. If you weren't so critical and shaming around your size, would thinner clothes have the same sense of specialness? No.
Yeah.
You would just wear size 14. There are people that are going to watch this video who are going to go, oh my God, I'm like size 22. What I would do to be size 14, because it's the same belief system. So you feel the same way that that person who's size 22 feels right now. The same exact brain reaction. We took their brain and your brain and put them scanned together, your brains would look identical. It's relative deprivation, right?
It is. I mean, I had that same thing when I was size 22.
Okay, so you feel no different because you've been even more distorted around what's acceptable. So as you become thinner and more closely matching the thin supremacy, right? As you the thinnerness, even if you don't believe, and this is a common misconception, I don't want to be super thin, so this doesn't matter for me. What she's saying doesn't work. Well, it's not about the super thin. It's really just about thinnerness, being thinner than you are. Which is why when you lose weight, you never really feel complete around your losses. And if you do feel complete around your losses, now you are on the flip side of that insanity, which is worse, which is the defensiveness, which is why you isolated yourself to the degree that you did after losing a substantial amount of weight, getting down into that 130 zone, right? That size 6 and 4 zone. You became super like claustrophobic around weight.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's and because it was so grandiose in your mind, you never left the cage because you felt inside of that abusive environment, you felt some sense of success.
Exactly.
The perfect example of Stockholm syndrome. Battered wife syndrome. But it's not with a person. It's with, and this is why it's so hard to detect, it's a cultural ideology